What was the question again? Oh yeah. Why would Guanyu Zhou be a front runner for an F1 team this season? Well, there's no doubt he's a solid driver. I mean, he's near the top of F2 right now, albeit he is a bit over-experienced in there, being there for 3 years. And there's another thing. There is another thing that's... I can't quite get my hands on it, you know? Oh, yes, Chinese viewership. I mean, a country of 1.3 billion. It takes just a small percentage of that to become one of F1's biggest fan bases around. There's no doubt about it. I mean, anyway, now this joke has overstayed its welcome. I guess it's time to switch back to the traditional. I mean, he's just £5. It's the lowest denomination we have in the UK, and it's only 50 quid. Kind of wish that had a better effect. Of course, Zhou brings a ton of money. 30 million euros of it, if we're to believe the rumours. That is a lot of money, even for an F1 team, and especially for an F1 team like Alfa Romeo. But it's not like pay drivers aren't a standard in the sport, with the likes of Stroll, Latifi and Mazepin all on the grid already. But I guess the real question is, can Guanyu Zhou actually compete on the track in F1? As is standard in these videos, the best way to analyse Zhou is to go right back. Born in Shanghai on the 30th of May 1999, so a bit over a month before I arrived, and I'm sitting here at 22 making videos on YouTube to around 100 people. So he's already smashed my benchmark, let's be real. Zhou got into karting at 8 and moved to the UK for more competitive racing by 2010. He'd end up winning the likes of the Super 1 National Rotax Max Junior Championship and the Junior Rotax Max Euro Challenge. God, karting tournament names are too long. He would also compete in the WSK Champions Cup and the CIK FIA European Championship as well, among others. And this showing in karting would get Ferrari interested, and they'd offer him a nice little academy drive from 2014 onwards. By 16, Zhou would be getting his first chance in open wheelers, competing for Prema in both the Italian F4 Championship and the ADAC F4 Championship. In the ADAC F4 Championship, Zhou would only compete for 3 rounds, scoring 2 podiums in 9 races. But in the Italian F4 Championship, he'd compete the whole series, alongside fellow Prema teammates in Ralph Aaron and Giuliano Raucci. Zhou would finish second in the series, which featured big names for the likes of Robert Schwartzman, David Beckman, and even a few cameos of one Mr. Lando Norris. Zhou would finish behind teammate Ralph Aaron, but for a first series of open wheel racing, it was a pretty good show actually. Next year, Zhou would get fast-tracked up to the F3 European Championship. A big step and a step into a hugely talented grid, featuring the likes of Lance Stroll, George Russell, Callum Ilott and Antoine Hubert. Zhou would be with Motorpark for the first season and racing alongside Sergio Sett Camara, Nico Kari and Joel Eriksson, and he would finish in 13th place with 2 podiums to his name. This might seem alright, but this was behind all of his teammates. Yeah. Sorry Zhou, but that was a pretty in the bin season even for a rookie. Also in 2016, Zhou would compete in Macau and Masters of F3 in Zandvoort and have some pretty mediocre finishes of 15th and 16th respectively. He would also take part in the Toyota Racing Series, racing alongside Lando Norris, Jehan Daruvala, Pedro Piquet and Camille Laliberte. Lando would obviously win this series, with Daruvala second. Zhou would finish the series in 6th place and at this point was kind of looking like one of those drivers that would just fall by the wayside. 2017 and another chance for Zhou in F3, this time in Prema, alongside some serious teammates in Mick Schumacher, Callum Ilott and Max Gunther. With 5 podiums, Zhou would finish in 8th, but in a Prema and in his second year would probably have been expected to challenge at the top. Norris took the series and Gunther and Ilott would be 3rd and 4th, another weaker showing for Zhou. An 8th place in Macau, and Zhou would be really lucky actually to get a 3rd chance in F3, and even luckier to stay with Prema. Again alongside Mick Schumacher and now alongside former teammate Ralph Aaron and Marcus Armstrong and Robert Schwartzman, Zhou really had to make an impression. He'd finish 8th, whereas his teammates would finish 1st, 3rd, 5th and 6th. This was kind of it for Zhou really. I mean, he'd be so lucky to get any chance in F2. Wait a second, is that money I see? Oh, yeah, go on in then. Go on, have fun. Oh yeah, and also, Zhou was kicked out of the Ferrari Academy this year, a little bit later than I'd have expected, and Renault would actually come by and just sweep him straight up. UNI Virtuosi would give Zhou a seat for F2, and something changed in him. He would partner F2 veteran Luca Giotto, and would finish 7th in the standings, the highest of any rookie that season. His teammate Giotto would finish 3rd, but for Zhou this was a big step forward, and with 5 podiums over the season, would show himself as a high-level racer after all. In 2020 though, Zhou needed to take a step forward. Being the top rookie of 2019, he'd now need to be competing actually at the top of the championship itself. He was joined by Isla in the UNI Virtuosi team, and well, would he make progress? Not really. Well, by 1 place, so technically yes, but with Mick Schumacher winning the series, his teammate Isla getting 2nd, and rookies Tsunoda and Schwartzman finishing higher than him, no. Oh yeah, and also Mazepin got to 5th in the standings, which says a lot about that season. Zhou would manage his first race win in F2 though in Mugello, but again, this year was not really good enough, especially for someone looking to get into F1. He'd also get to test in the Renault car in the Young Drivers Test at Bahrain, and at the post-season test alongside that promising young talent Fernando Alonso. So after hearing all that, you might well be questioning, how is this guy in contention for F1? I mean, like, look at it. Well, Zhou has had a meteoric rise this year in F2. He started off the season racing in the F3 Asian Championship, which I guess was just a nice confident boost, as he would win, mostly against F3 level competition. But Jehan Daruvula and Roy Nissany would also compete as well, so there were a few F2 level drivers he'd had to beat. We're now 5 rounds into the 2021 F2 season, and Zhou is sitting in 2nd place with 134 points, beating the likes of Schwartzman, Vips and Ticktum. He has 3 wins to his name this year, the most of any competitor in the series, and Oscar Piastri, one of the most talented racers in junior Formula. He's the 2019 Formula Renault Eurocup winner and 2020 F3 winner, and he is just about ahead of Zhou. And let's be really real, if we're basing it just on performance and talent, probably deserves an F1 seat more. But the fact that Zhou is matching him in stride is honestly completely unexpected and really shows his development in recent times. With how he is performing this year, I actually think that he is probably the best fit for the Alfa Romeo 2022 seat, especially if the money offered is available. Now, hear me out here before you absolutely crucify me for this opinion, but with his competitors for the seat, Pourchaire is a little too inexperienced for F1 right now, and I feel would suffer the same as Yuki Tsunoda did, but he is probably scheduled for the 2023 seat. Schwartzman hasn't been consistent enough for me, especially for a 2nd year in a Prema. Piastri would leave for a prospective competitor for Alfa Romeo post-regulation change, as he's lined up for the Alpine seat post-Alonso. And finally, current Alfa man Giovinazzi, who is the most likely competitor, has not really shown a ton until the last few races and, well, more qualifying. It's not like Alfa are bringing in Zhou for a long-term seat, unless he performs an absolute madness and goes off and gets them really high up. And he's unlikely to go to Alpine if Piastri is available. The pros vastly outweigh the cons, especially with a top-level experienced driver in Bottas leading the team. I don't have any expectations of Zhou coming in from F2 and propelling Alfa to new heights with his driving, but I've learned through the years that F1 will not survive without pay drivers. Williams would be dead and buried without Latifi. Aston Martin wouldn't have even bothered with F1 if Daddy Stroll didn't want to get his son in the top tier of motorsport, and Haas would probably be stuck on life support without Mazepin, though I don't know if I cared that much about that one actually, so just take that bit back a little bit. So what I have to say is, if we need a pay driver, a shorter contract to prove themselves as a solid driver is a great way to go. And hey, sometimes it's pretty fun to watch the slightly out of their depth underdog pay driver racing against some of the top in the world. And you never know, just like with people with Latifi this year, you might even start to root for them after a while. Unless they're sexually harassing people, that is. That's going to be it for this video. Let me know who you think should get in that last Alfa seat and who you predict to win the F2 Championship this year. Don't forget to like and subscribe though to help out the channel, and I will see you lot in the next video. Goodbye.